All right, hello everyone. Welcome to Theorycraft Thursday. We, of course, are everyone's favorite competitive rock, paper, scissors podcast. We today have two specific topics of conversation. First of all, we're going to talk about the meta trends. Meta recently has been shifting to advantage scissors, a surprising change that we're going to get into.
Yeah,
but
scissors was so trash for so long. I'm like, on one hand, I'm not surprised because it's just been such a long time. But also, like, people have been expecting the scissor shift for so long that
Yeah.
it's almost predictable that it's instantly just going to switch back into paper favor.
Yeah, every few years this happens, but alas, maybe we'll get into it because as you just brought up, this has been formerly a rock meta. Now it's back to scissors meta, but we're going to be talking about one young man who has been the rising star rock spammer, and he has an incredible win rate with rock, despite rock falling out of favor ever since its recent nerfs. So
Yeah, every time I see his hands, I'm like, he's going paper, and then it's just rock, and I'm like, gee, God,
it's impressive. It's something. Before we get into all these
his false tells is like it's wild. Like the amount that he can switch up his tells, and like you don't know if that's a real tell or a false tell, and then it turns out it was a real false tell. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah,
Have
it's
you ever done like
something.
actually like a best of 11 or something of rock paper scissors? Like that gets intense.
I will take your word for it. Fortunately, the Rock Paper Scissors Association rules are generally just best of sevens in repeat, similar to tennis. But
Yeah.
before we get into our intense discussion, let's talk about something light, something easy to talk about.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
like a simple game.
our favorite non-rock paper scissors association, Dota 2. How have you been playing Dota 2 recently, young Sir Proud?
Been playing something known as S&Y Sven, and it's been going pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, it went well on the show last week. And more continued success?
Even better actually. I fixed it up a little bit with made the item build a bit more lean. Skill build wise, I've been actually skipping my talent at 10 to make room for I'm getting like 3 points cleave early instead of just 2. I thought 2 was going to be the sweet spot. It's actually 3. 3 is when it's like you farm incredibly fast with that extra point. And I try to stick with 1 point war cry if possible until I can get to 3 and cleave, always maxing Stormhammer. Actually, sometimes I get Stormhammer to 3 points just to get the 3 cleave earlier if I'm having like a real nice time. But yeah, it's been nice. I've made it a bit more lean. Sometimes I skip blink. Sometimes I go straight blink after S and Y, and delay the BKB a bit. It's nice. I can change it up a lot. A lot of the times I just get like I get S and Y, blink, and then just straight into heart. And even if they do have a bunch of crowd control for me, eventually it'll run out, and then my heart will just like I won't die in any amount of stun lock because I have like 3,500 health at like level 17 or some shit like that. So
Yeah.
it's been great. I mean, I first pick it in my pubs and I win. It counters Juggernaut absurdly hard just with the fact that I have a stun after he gets out of his Q, my war cry, he can never man up on me. Anytime he omni slashes, we take 0 damage. Yeah, it's been working out great for me. Big fan of phase boot Dom S&Y Sven right now.
Yeah, anything else in your recent week?
Still playing a lot of OD. I took a bit of a break from Dota 2 in the past few days because the new Dark Souls DLC came out, and it's fantastic. But yeah, I've been playing a bit of Rubik actually lately, and man, I feel so good on Rubik, honestly. I mean, it's the core player support, right? But
Yeah.
like, I had some game where I was playing against this, like Rubik against Timbersaw is one of my favorite matchups because it
Oh,
eventually
yeah.
gets to the point where like you can actually kill the Timbersaw by copying like he chains at me and I just like instantly steal and chains back at like the other way, and then he like throws a chakram, I dodge it, take his chakram and throw it back at him and slow him up, and I'm just like, I'm just better at your hero than you are right now, buddy. And it's like, it's so cool, it's so fun.
Yeah, it is. I feel as though anybody that plays Dota for long enough will eventually have a tryst with Rubik.
Yeah.
He's just so fun.
Dude, I like, and like I was against a Juggernaut, and I knew I was like, this guy is about to Omni Slash me, and I just positioned myself perfectly. I'm like, all right, he's gonna Omni Slash me. My teammate's right here. He Omni Slashes me. I wait. His Omni Slash finished. I steal immediately, and I Omni Slash him back. All right, you're dead. I just took your 3-point Omni Slash, and now you're dead, and you can't finish me off because I'm invincible. It's, man, Rubik is such a rewarding hero to play when you're like better than the people you're against, or they just aren't thinking. Like, he used his spin and then he omni slashed into me like That's not the correct order of operations, sir. You need to remember your PEMDAS. It goes
Yeah.
Omni Slash, then Blade Fury.
That's for certain. I'm happy. I actually have not been playing that much Rubik recently, just because I've not been playing a lot of support. But man, Rubik's so much fun.
The orb first OD that you were saying a bit
Yes.
about.
Yeah, we were
I've
talking
actually
about
been
the draft.
playing. Yeah, I've been playing. Yeah, in the in-house. Sam mentioned that a little
Oh
bit.
yeah.
But yeah, I've been changing my build up pretty significantly on OD. I've been doing this against mostly Ember Spirits. I did it against a Storm Spirit because he has relatively low range, and it's nice to just starve him out of mana. Just various stuff like that where I go. You have first point W, of course, just to like deny the range creep and all that business. Second point E, so you get your mana coming back. And then third point Q, and then fourth point E, so that you have like 2 points in Arcane Aura, and then you get up to your second point in your Arcane Orb at level 5, and then you're stealing 2 hit per hit. And it's almost kind of like a Shadow Fiend at that point. Like every time you get a right click off on them, you have more and more advantage. But you do have to make sure that your mana does stay high. So like I buy an extra clarity, a really early raindrop, a stick, and that sort of thing. And because the more active mana you have, it's not just whether or not your mana pool is big on OD. It's you actually have to have the mana present in the bar to be taking advantage of it. So you need like 2 points in your Q early just for that in-steal, and then you want to get 3 points in your E just so it starts, getting refreshed, and then you can start maxing out your Astral after that again, so you have that. But yeah, I mean, I'm having a ton of fun on OD. Like
That's
getting
interesting.
that Q early again.
Yeah, we were like he said, we were talking about that in one of the games we recently casted, and I actually really want to play around with that. I've not played with that build since it was like the actual meta to do that every game. So maybe I'll have to try that next time I play OD. Let's see, for me, I have not played a tremendous amount of Dota because similarly to how you've been distracted by Dark Souls, I've been distracted by Mass Effect Andromeda, which I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's probably the worst of the Mass Effect series,
Even
but
worse
it's
than
still...
one.
Well, one is good, it's just clunky, I would say. It might be better than one. But if one was released
One
now...
seems like it was just
What?
more of an artifact of the time it came out and the fact that it was the first one, so it was a little rough.
It's still a very fun game, though. It's getting an incredible amount of crap, which I'm very surprised with. Like, it has a few random bugs, and, like, the humans are ugly, but the game's so fun. If you like Mass Effect, you'll like the game. Anyway, I've been having a ton of fun playing Mass Effect, and the multiplayer is so good. But that's taken away from my Dota time in a significant fashion. But I played, let's see, I mean, on Doppy Team Stream, I had a Night Stalker game, and Night Stalker, I will say, I feel like I have to say this on every possible venue I could possibly say this because I'm in so much love with Night Stalker.
Like 4 times maybe.
Man, Night Stalker is so good. If you are better than other people in your pubs, just play Night Stalker and you will win. That's all I'm gonna say. One sentence, done, easy. Other than that,
I agree with you.
Other than that, I played because a lot of people forget about Night Stalker. You really don't see him often.
Who do you play him to counter? I played him specifically to counter someone recently.
Coddle?
No,
Puck?
You're wrong. No. It
Storm
was like something
Spirit?
like the vision would just be. Oh, it was like Tinker. Yeah, I played
Tinker. That's actually why I picked it in that game.
Fuck him up. Yeah. Super good, super good. Yeah, as a 4, like he's one of the few 4s that really does counter a Tinker well.
Yeah, that's for certain. The fact that he can have such absurd vision and then also have it on demand, even when you don't expect him to have it, is just an absolutely absurd ability to have in Dota 2. Yeah. And like he's great in the offlane. You get like a poor man's shield and you're unharassable. It's fantastic. I love that hero so much. He's so fun. I think I may just play him as my go-to offlaner other than Mag. And, well, really just Mag, actually. Anyway, I played a Coddle game because Coddle is real good right now, and I feel like I need to get a better grasp. We're going to be talking about DAC later, and Coddle's been a standout hero in DAC. And
the qualifiers.
In qualifiers. Other than that, I played a couple Jug games. We played the Battle Cup, which was fun. We ended up getting meatbowed, among other things, so we didn't win the Battle Cup this time, but it was a fun time to play back in a Tier 6 Battle Cup, because we haven't had the opportunity to do that recently since our team's been in flux. Other than that, nothing too exciting. I had a really good Drow game, but yeah, nothing too exciting. Still playing around a bit with Lena.
Did you get the Ags on Drow?
No, I went... It was only a 27-minute game, because the enemy team tried to Luna us in a random draft game, and so I went to, like, hardcore Dota mode, like real tryhard mode instead of just hanging out and having fun. There's some Chinese stack, and they just insisted on trying real hard and unranked Dota 2. And I was like, buddy, I'm not having this. So
Yeah.
we played Drow. I mean, I played Drow, and I went just Dragonlance, Manta, Butterfly. Let's see. I want to look at the actual game.
Butterfly was probably a stupid idea. I think you're kind of
Well,
dumb.
I got the Butterfly at 25 minutes, and we won at 27. It was just one of those things where I like you're already about to win,
Yeah,
and I was
sounds
just like, what
suboptimal
can I
though.
buy?
So.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it just seems
The
like it's kind of stupid of you to do.
Yeah, the enemy team, yeah, their like first three picks were Shadow Demon or Puck, Slardar, Shadow Demon, Luna. And I was like, buddy, like this is unranked Dota 2. I can't believe I'm in this situation. So we just played a Drow strat with
Hey, at least they
Mirana
picked
mid.
Puck.
The Puck was bad because I just bodied him with silences.
Yeah, man, I love Drow. Like Drow Silence is so good against both Weaver and like Puck and a couple other heroes in this meta. I mean, not that Puck's in this meta, but Drow Silence is like so good. Honestly, I feel like people don't really think about it too much in terms of like reasons to pick Drow, but like against a Weaver, man, that Silence is so good. And
It's
Morphling,
so
like,
long.
Weaver and Morphling, oh my god, it's super like value against those.
Yeah, and the fact that it goes out in a wave means against heroes like Puck, you can prime it and just
So
kind
as
of
soon-
predict.
Yeah, as soon as she comes out of her phase shift or whatever, she will be in the field.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like obviously that's a little hard to do, and you can get outplayed, and you could throw entire team fights if you mess it up. But when you do it well, it's sick. So that's been Dota for me. Nothing too exciting. I've been playing around with SNY Jug also. I think I talked about this last week maybe, but
Yeah, hopefully in the safe lane. I'm so tired of your Jug mid. It's like never won a game, I feel like.
I've won. I've not
kidding.
lost.
You've been okay. I just think that Jug mid is like bad right now. Like I think it's just pretty bad. And you have
Oh, I
to
mean,
do-
I think it's definitely worse than safe lane Jug for sure.
yeah.
But I don't think it's bad mid. I think
just-
it's less of a go-to. You win every matchup like it used to be.
You
Now
don't
it's
win, like,
more of
any
a
matchups. Like what do you win against? You like it got meta because it was good against both Invoker and Mirana, but it's not
Yeah.
like those heroes aren't. I mean, Invoker is, but Mirana's not. And then like if you win a mid with Jug, like what does that hero even do for you? I mean, like
push.
Jug is
I don't know.
he's a great hero. Don't get me wrong, but like any push lineup, like the things that your mid hero does for you are not things that Juggernaut does. You
Yeah,
know what
I
mean?
don't disagree.
Yeah.
I think it's
Anyway.
more of a comfort mid for me, and it's decent enough in a lot of places. But
I
mid
think
is,
if you
I mean,
do play
safe lane
that,
is
that's
definitely
when
the
like
optimal way.
like you need me on like Lone Druid or Clinks or something like that, not like that troll Jug stupid ass shit that we picked.
Yeah, that was bad.
Because that was awful. And we did it because they want troll, let's pick troll and we'll do a Jug troll. Stupid fucking idea.
Well,
Anyway.
okay, but the troll was also because they had a Phoenix, and you want to have troll against Phoenix Egg. And then they
Jug-
happened to meepo
that was
Medusa
fine.
us.
Jug is all you need against Phoenix.
I know, but like it's nice to have multiple things. I mean, you're not wrong, but at the same
I
time,
know. I'm just saying it's a shit core duo. Anyway,
it is. But yeah, so that's been that for me.
let's talk about Dak.
Yeah, let's do that. Perfect
Dak.
segue. Okay, so we're reviving the .pro show for the next 15 or so
Oh wait,
minutes.
let me get Wikipedia.
Yeah,
pulled up.
pull up Wikipedia.
Gotta pull up my script, aka Wikipedia.
Yeah, so, and in that vein, while Proud does that, we are also playing two of the top heroes at DAC right now. Not Lena, of course, because we played her last week. Actually, I mean, before we get into the actual stats and all the metagame of DAC, for Lena, who is now being
Lina.
considered OP, Lina, as many call her, of course,
Everyone.
we definitely can say that respawn talents are OP, just as a general blanket statement.
I don't
If
even
you're a
know if
core-
they're OP. They're just not. I mean, they can get stupid. Like if she wasn't a Bloodstone hero, I don't think it would be too bad. But she is, so they are.
But I mean, people argue against the. I mean, one of the things people dislike about LD, for instance, is his respawn time.
Well, yeah, because it was 50 seconds. LD's was broken because he had a mechanic that was like, oh, it actually doesn't matter if you respawn faster because your bear is still dead. But like,
That's true. That's fair.
Then the ranged bears was like whatever.
Yeah,
the
but
druid thing
you're
is like
definitely
some of his talents are just like stupid broken because the idea is that the hero sucks without them. But
Yeah.
Lena is just like, and
It's
obviously they
absurd.
were too good.
I mean,
but yeah, Lena's just like too much.
I'm glad though, on some level, that my hero is OP right now, not because of the actual hero, but just because of one dumb talent that shouldn't exist. So hopefully they're not gonna be like, yeah, let's just ruin your hero. They're gonna be like, oh no,
Hey,
let's
that's what they
not
did to
have
me. Because I mean, I had
that's
three.
true.
I had three dumb talents. I'll be honest. I had three of them, and they were like, you know what? Let's remove Rabid. And I was like, but what about the 3 talents?
Yeah. And
What about those?
yeah, and I think on Lena as well, the level 25 talent could be tuned down just a little bit. It's not absurd, I wouldn't say, but it's definitely, it feels a little too strong considering the amount of items she has.
It's more like, it's not that like she transitions into like a hybrid right clicker spellcaster. It's like as soon as you get that, it's like, what is Shadow Fiend? Who is this hero? This is Lena time.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my like 2 cents on Lena, is that I'm glad she's seeing a lot of play, but the respawn talent is like absolutely silly. The fact that you can hit level 10, pick that talent, and be alive again in like 5 seconds after you die at level 10, and then you're usually getting your bloodstone pretty quickly in that like level 12.
So as long as you're
range.
on curve, that never stops being the case.
Yeah. As long as you're not
don't
behind,
die.
you basically never need buyback because you're instantly alive every time.
Right.
It's silly.
However, it can backfire. If you are really bad, that just means that you're feeding way often.
That is also very true. Okay, so now let's talk about DAC. Proud.
DAC.
Go to it. DAC, as they call it. DAC.
Yeah, so it's been good. There are certain players who are, so obviously if you look at the title to this episode, we're going to be playing Monkeyking Magnus, and the kind of meta that has come out of it is, I mean, you still have heroes like Earth Spirit and Slardar, and now Monkeyking is being added to that 4 position. And we're seeing the skirmish stun that is so that we talk about so much on the show, that you need an offlane, or you want an offlane in that cast of heroes. Cast is in CASTE, although the other CAST would also work. It's both a cast and a cast. But those heroes like Centaur, Axe, Slardar, Nyx Assassin also to a point. But these heroes that have the ability to like a blink, low cooldown AoE stun versus a hero like Tidehunter, who has, like a blink teamfight ulti, or Magnus, who has a blink teamfight ulti, those kind of heroes. So there's a bit of a difference between the two of those. But with the rise of Earth Spirit being back in the meta, Slardar able to be run as a 4, and the addition of Monkeyking, who does have an AoE 2-second stun at a very, very long range that doesn't have the longest cast time, although it is decently long. You're able to run these the longer cooldown stuns now. So like Magnus is enabled by you having your skirmish stun not in your offlane. So if you have a hero like a Monkeyking that provides your like AoE 2-second stun that you can just kind of throw out willy-nilly, that enables you to run a long cooldown RP in the offlane. Or, if Tide was a decent hero right now, that would also enable Tide. Or it also does enable like Timbersaw to some degree. It enables Underlord specifically. Underlord is a hero that is not going to do a blink disable. Obviously, I mean, you can do a blink. You can do a blink Pit of Malice if you are so inclined, I suppose. But nothing's going to stop Lifestealer from raging immediately after that. And then, and of course, Juggernaut too, another hero that you need to kind of like blink disable that doesn't let you BKB, doesn't let you Manta, doesn't let you do whatever. But yeah, so it used to be just when Slardar was kind of one of the only real 4s that was that had that like was the only like blink disabler that was also like a very good early game roamer. And had that AoE stun form. It would just be like, if you were able to get Underlord and Slardar, you were perfect. Because Underlord is great, it's just he doesn't have the blink disable. Slardar in your 4 can provide that for you. But now we also have Magnus in that role of offlaners that are good, but don't provide that skirmish AoE stun. And then we're seeing also Bat Rider coming back into the meta a decent amount. He has 53 picks. He's in like kind of like the top 15 and one of many offlaners. And I mean, Sand King is also back a decent amount, running in various positions. But there definitely is like still, you will be hard pressed to find a single team that isn't running some combination of either Slardar, Earth Spirit, Sand King, even Earthshaker, some Nyx or Centaur, or even sometimes Axe. He's not terribly meta. But you need one of those heroes that's going to provide that stun. And if you can't get that in the 4, then that's what's enabling your Magnuses and your Underlords that are coming back into the meta like in a very, very strong way. And Bat Rider, of course, as I said, and Clockwork even too, another hero that takes a big advantage out of and Legion Commander. We've also seen a decent amount, got a 60% win rate so far.
That was a surprise
in this
to
tournament.
me.
Yeah, there's a couple players who are just like really good with it and really comfortable with it. Although, I mean, sometimes it's doing well, sometimes it's not. I feel like a lot of the times it does well. It's more of like a difference in skills of the team. It's not like, I don't know. I don't. It hasn't really convinced me, but it's definitely viable if you do have one of these AOE stunners as a 4 position. But something to keep in mind in your battle cups, whatever you're doing, make sure you have your AOE stun in either your 4, your 3, or your 4. If you are going to run a hero like Magnus as your 3, think about how you're going to fit the Monkeyking, the Slardar, the Sand King if you do want to run that as a support. That some people have talked to me that are playing battle cups that they do enjoy. Or the Earth Spirit. You want to fit one of those in your 4 positions. In fact, you don't really have a choice. You have to do that. Same thing with Darkseer. Darkseer also not the skirmishy stun. So there's a nice balance between you either get a Centaur and you can do whatever you want with your 4, or you get one of the non-skirmish stuns in your offlane, and then you have to get one of those as your 4.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so I mean, we're seeing a ton of emphasis on the offlane specifically from the versatility standpoint, right?
Yep.
Have you? I mean, the mid lane has not been as exciting. The thing that's really interested me has been seeing more Ember Spirit. I like seeing that people, after all his nerfs, I'm happy to be seeing him still picked and being
God,
played.
you didn't see any of the images of shit. Who was it? Was it SC who was playing it? Yeah, I think it was. He had the wildest game on it. It was like honestly incredible. He had it was like Blade Mail Mjolnir, and he might have gone up to a Daedalus too, but he had a Magnus on his team, and there was just one sleight of fist. Even though he was like magic damage Ember, he just like killed. Like it was like, I think it was like 2,000. No, it was after like everyone had died, and like he'd already done a wild amount of damage, and then he had another sleight of fist right before he died. Like the fight had segmented enough that there was a new fight recap, and it was just one sleight of fist that was smaller than one he got earlier that you could just see with your eyes. Like that was less damage than the early one, and it was like 2,500 damage from one sleight. And I was like, then what was the other one that like killed 3 people? Because they had like a bot back, and it's like, geez, like even without these battle furies and the physical damage build, like he still does a wild amount of damage. Yeah, it was SC against NP, and it was like that one sleight was just like the game. Ugh, it was insane.
Huh. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I've watched almost none of the games in their entirety. I've flipped it on occasionally. I've been keeping up with the stats.
I mean, it was late at night. I don't know if they, like some Jiffy Cat or whatever was made of it that was put up somewhere, but
yeah,
man, Ember Spirit. I mean, with the more Magnus is out, and like, I mean, you can still put out respectable physical damage with just like a Maelstrom and the cooldown reduction. Like, yeah, he had cooldown reduction plus Octarine Core. So although he didn't have a bunch of those, a bunch of Battle Furies or whatever, his itemization did bring him to a point where he had like a 3-second cooldown on Slight.
Yeah. So what would you say would be like if you had to pick one single standout hero so far of DAC? What would it be? Like for you personally, not necessarily just like highest win rate.
Most notable is obviously the Monkeyking, just the amount that it gets played. But I feel like the one that is most surprising, because a lot of people are going to say, "Oh yeah, 4 roaming Monkeyking, it's really good, and we're going to see it." But maybe the one that is most surprising to me is, I guess, the Dazzle coming out. I would say it's slightly predictable. With Slardar really good as a 4. Monkeyking obviously has a lot of physical damage on him. Shadow Fiend is good. Like there's a lot of things pushing us in the direction of Minus Armor, especially with Lifestealer. And Lifestealer being an armlet hero does absurdly well with Shallow Grave. That can make it so even if you have a bunch of dots on him, you can Shallow Grave him right before the grave runs out. He can activate his armlet, and he's got a long time to live through those dots, as opposed to just, it's not just like 5 seconds it adds on, it's 5 seconds plus the time to eat through that extra armlet buffer you can do right as grave wears off. That like gives him such an advantage with like the Dazzle synergy. But I would say mostly Dazzle and a little bit Lifestealer. We kind of saw Lifestealer trending a lot, and it was definitely discernible the way that people are shifting around the way they're playing mid and the way the cores are working out, and how nice it is to be able to solo 1v1 your safe laner against their off lane. And like as Centaur got bigger, obviously he's a hero with 4.0 strength gain. You know what's good against that? A hero that eats your fucking health. So Lifestealer is really good against the Centaur. And as a result of that, then the Magnus is getting better, because Magnus has a disable that goes through RP. So I want to say the kind of interplay between Lifestealer rising to prominence brings us Magnus, brings us Dazzle, and brings Centaur down a little bit. So that's where a lot of the movement in the meta is coming from. Also, of course, the hero with a built-in spell immunity is going to do well with Coddle being really good, because being able to dispel Mana Leak is a really nice thing.
Yeah, that's for certain.
Yeah,
Um,
I want to change my answer. It's Life Stealer. The Life Stealer adding to like be the number one carry to pick is leading to the Magnus, which is like the whole shifting of the meta is like Life Stealer, and then Magnus was pretty good even outside of Life Stealer, but it's mostly like Life Stealer and Magnus's effect on the meta is what's driving everything right now.
yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So I can't find this data on Dota Buff, unfortunately, since you can't search by item. But
I'm sure I
Midas,
can.
Midas.
Oh yeah,
has
Midas.
been a
Midas
thing.
is the real hero. Yeah, it's been in like,
Yeah.
almost every game. Especially and like Alchemist is losing all the time, but he's getting picked up a ton. Like the Chinese way of dealing with Alchemist is honestly super cool. It's just like they're against an Alchemist, and instead of shitting on the Alchemist and being like, "Well, I'm gonna stop you from farming," and then Alchemist is like, "Oh, it doesn't matter. I still have Radiance." Like instead of that happening, they're just like, "Oh, you want to farm, huh? I'll show you what real farming is." And then like they pop up with 5 Midases, and Alk is just like, "No, I took 2 stacks, but it didn't matter because they have 5 Midases," and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that makes sense. And also, I mean, levels, of course, big deal recently.
Yeah,
Or
levels are obviously much better with the addition of talents, that sort of thing. But it's like if you have a 4 or 5, and you have a good team fight, get a bunch of gold, you're like, I'm not gonna go 4 staff. This is actually Mama's gonna get a Midas, and
so that's
then
Ursinity Dota right there.
Yeah, Mama needs her Midas.
That's for certain.
Yeah, that's what you say every time you get them, and it has to be Mama because you need alliteration going in there.
Oh, of course, of course.
Yeah, that's I mean Theorycraft Thursday. We understand the rules.
Yeah, it's
Mama
only
needs her Midas. That's any time you have a good team fight, you look at your gold and you say to yourself, Mama needs her Midas, and you just try it out, see how it feels. If it feels true, get the Midas. If it feels like you're putting on airs, you'd be like, Mama needs to take care of the kids. I mean, that's how you play support right now. Not
That's
to
fair.
enforce the rigid gender roles of the mother as the primary caregiver, but it's important to understand where your biases are coming from and the things that you say.
Have you ever heard the?
Yes.
I guess it's linguistic or grammar. Have you ever heard that alliteration is only alliteration if it's with consonants? You can't have alliteration, or it doesn't count as alliteration if it's all vowel first.
Sounds like semantics.
It is definitely semantics, but I've heard that before. And I don't know if
Yeah.
that's actually true or not. And despite the
Well-
fact that I have the vast knowledge of the internet in front of me, I'm not going to look it up. So somebody can correct me. But
Wait, let
definitely
me
heard
think
that
of.
it's only true if it's only like if it's Theory Crafting Thursday. But if it was like all right alligator, that's not alliteration because it's 2 vowel based words. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway,
Yeah,
that's a
no, I
tangent.
mean, I definitely see that. I was gonna try to think of because I mean, you know how there's like a lot of classic superheroes. They all have like alliteration names, like Clark Kent and Peter Parker and shit. If there was any that
Clark
started,
Kent is not alliteration.
it's not the same letter, but it's the same.
Yeah, it's the same sound. Yeah.
I mean, that's alliteration. Like it doesn't need to. Okay, it doesn't need to be the same letter. It's
I
just
don't
the same
think
sound.
I don't think that's true. I think that's stretch, my friend. Okay.
No, like anyway. I mean, if alliteration is going to be defined by vowels, then you can also say it's defined by like
Yeah,
the
I
letter.
suppose.
But the point, it's like a rhyme. It's like the opposite. Or it's like a rhyme, but in front instead of in the back. I
right
think.
in front. That's the best way I've ever heard that described. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
no, alliteration is just a reverse rhyme. You know what I mean?
I'm sorry for getting us on this tangent now. Okay. Do we have any more to talk about DAC 4? I mean, obviously the event's not over, so maybe next week we'll do a complete overview.
Yeah.
But
I highly guarantee watching the Eternal Envy versus Burning Shadow Fiend 1v1.
oh yeah, even I watched that.
That was awesome. I love Envy, man. If that didn't solidify like why Envy is great, then I mean you don't know how to watch
See,
Dota for fun.
My perspective on that was different considering Envy's tweet like a week before where he was just like, "This is stupid. I don't want to do some dumb 1v1."
Yeah.
And I was like,
oh no,
"Oh,
yeah,
clearly he
a
just
lot of
doesn't
this
care
like
at all, and he just wants
I
this
mean,
to end." So
the casting for it,
good
I'm
spread
sure
out.
it was often like they were trying to make it super like, oh, I think Arteezy could have still stayed in that if he didn't GG after one death, he may have still wanted to pull back. I was like, I don't think Arteezy wanted to pull it back. I think it was going on long enough, and he's like, I'm just gonna go for it, and if I die, I really don't give a shit. Like he ulted in the middle of dying. He doesn't give a fuck. No,
is there even a reward
few-
this year for the 1v1 tournament?
I'm sure there is. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it. But I mean, Ice pulled
I mean,
out,
it
so if
doesn't
there's
prevent
no-
them from doing other things.
Yeah, but if there's like some money behind, like, yeah, I'll do it. But like, I mean, I'm sure like Arteezy's game that went like 20 minutes, and I'm sure he's like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever been engaged in, and especially because he was doing so well at the start. Like, I'm sure that Envy also. I'm sure he wanted to just try to do some wild ass shit. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it was just fun. Like the way it ended was like the most eternal Envy shit that like has
Yeah.
ever happened in anyone's life.
Yeah. That was a what's the word? It's a a low numbers play. God, what's the term? Anyway.
Low
Okay. So
probability,
that's yeah. It's
high risk, low reward.
yeah, but anyway, okay. It's late.
Fuck
I'm
you.
distracted.
Fuck
Okay.
you.
I mean, you're right. Both of those are right, but I feel like there's one like catch-all
Oh no, I'm
term.
sure.
It's
Yeah. Panacea.
no, I mean panacea is the term that you
That's a
guys like
throwback
a month
reference.
ago didn't know.
I know. No, that wasn't the word I was looking for either. Anyway, that was why it was a good joke, because I
Anyway,
was just throwing
okay.
out terms that kind of work but weren't what you were looking for. Anyway, let's go on.
Yeah, let's talk about Magnus and let's talk about Monkeyking because those are the heroes we're playing. So
That was awful. What does he sound
Magnus
like?
in DAC is being played as an offlaner. I will probably be playing him as an offlaner, but I may play him as a mid. I've played him as a
Probably.
mid quite a bit recently, but honestly, it depends on the game because if we get another one of these games where we're both like 700 MMR above everybody, probably gonna go mid.
Yeah,
But
yeah. And I don't want to go mid on
the
Monkeyking because I've already done that. I want to play support.
yeah, and also this is convenient because last week we fawned over our lovely support Monkeyking that
Yeah,
did really
time for
well.
me to do way worse.
Yeah, exactly. Also, we have that nice synergy since we're in party queue that I will be. Your ganks will go off better since we have that coordination.
Yeah, because I'll be like, yo, I'm going. And then you'll be like, I am at Shrine. And I'll be like, oh no. And then I'll
Yep.
die.
Okay, so I guess I'll just talk about Magnus pretty quick. Magnus,
Sure.
he's not tremendously different nowadays, but
Well, he
he's
has four
definitely.
legs.
That is true. He's tremendous in the leg department.
Yeah, he's got
But-
like at least four.
In terms of success, we've seen a lot more success on Magnus, especially at higher level play and in pro games, just because he's one of these heroes where if you're good,
Where what?
it's gonna change a lot.
Where
Overall,
what?
he only has a 46.5% win rate. His
Whatever.
itemization is not what?
Whatever.
Okay. That is true actually. That's like kind of a weird tangent, but win rate is so meh
If
of a stat.
most heroes that are like a high pick hero, like even if a hero is ridiculously broken, if it's a first pick hero, it's almost never gonna have above a 50% win rate. That's just
Yeah.
the nature of heroes that are first pick. Yeah, like heroes that are later on picks are almost always going to have a better win rate because the game is more situated to them. Like almost always.
Yeah.
If a hero is both first pick and at like 60% win rate, that is ridiculously broken.
Yeah, like Omni back when people were just picking him every game. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's
Okay.
that's
Anyway.
But yeah,
So in mid lane, which I guess I'll just go over both quick. Mid lane, we see the Echo Saber Blink Shadowblade build, and that is very much more aggressive build than the common Magnus that we see. Offlane
but
Magnus.
don't you say don't wait? Sorry, you say Echo Blade, Blink, Shadowblade,
Yeah, you go. Well, you mean you get a bottle,
Echo
but
Saber.
you get
Yeah,
Echo. What did I say?
I think you said Echo Blade, and then I was like Shadowblade first.
Echo
Then
Blade.
what? Echo Blade.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's the when you combine
Yeah.
Silver Edge with Echo Saber.
Yeah, Echo Blader. That's what we call it.
Right.
Yeah, you go bottle, treads, Echo Saber, Blink Dagger, Shadow Blade, and or I mean you can go BKB if you need it after the Blink Dagger. And then in the offlane you see more of a Blink Dagger rush because naturally you just have less money coming in. So in the offlane we see more of a Poor Man's Shield start, of course, because you're a melee offlaner, and then you go in for Boots of Speed, Arcane Boots, Blink Dagger, Force Staff, etc. Yada yada yada. Whatever you need, and then you end up with refresher and what have you. I think I went mech in my last.
Magnus. Yeah, I've seen a little bit of Greaves Magnus. I don't know if that's actually a thing that I've seen or if I'm crazy, but I feel like I have seen that.
I've played it recently actually, so maybe you saw it when I played it. But
No, it was at DAC. I try not to watch as many of your games as possible.
well, I mean, I'm looking at guys right here, and one 7K guy built Greaves at 22 in his stomp. But
Well, that's at least one thing you do right now. That's good.
yeah, dude. Honestly, the Dota Buff guide section is the most godly thing. I just wish, and if anybody from Dota Buff is listening, Lollipop, the thing that I want more in this world than anything else on Dota Buff is the ability to click on a hero and have a guide section that's just for pro players or just for pro games. because
Like pro
it's
pubs, pro players playing pubs. Do you
no,
mean?
no, no, like pro
Or like
games, pro
esports
players
games.
in pro games.
Yeah, you know what
Even
I
like
wish there was on the meta section when you go to heroes and then meta where it's like broken down by like it's like the trends and shit or whatever. This is the meta section where it's like 5K plus.
yeah,
For whatever reason, I can only sort it by month. I can't sort it by patch. I would like when a new patch comes out, I want to see how heroes are doing at 5K plus. I don't want to have to wait a month to see how the win rates have shifted at 4 to 5K plus.
yeah.
All I can do is see whether or not 2K players are good with the new lone druid, which is not helpful.
And you can use the trends, but it doesn't show it
But
for
yeah, it's
specific
also
MMR
like,
brackets.
yeah, hey, 2K players are trending down on Lycan. I'm like, cool, thank
Yeah.
you.
Anyway, so Magnus, he's Magnus, dude. Like, you get RPs and you win games, and if you don't get RPs, you lose games. That's basically the gist of it. We have not
Get
actually
to
played
double
this one.
RP. If you're against a core and they can be killed, double RP is gonna do it. If there's a hero
Yeah.
that is able to be killed, Magnus will kill them. Or at least
Yes.
Magnus plus the team will kill them. And also he synergizes great with like certain like he's a great hero in and of himself. And then you add that you've got like you can give cleave to people. That's a pretty cool concept.
Yeah.
Like Battle Fury sucks, but cleave is awesome.
I guess the only real thing I'm going to talk about at length, because pretty much everybody knows Magnus, is the difference between offlane and mid lane skill builds. Offlane, you're doing the very basic build where you just max Shockwave first, you get points in Skewer early so that you can potentially have kill potential, and of course you have potential to get away if they try to kill you. He's relatively tanky, but he kind of relies on Skewer to get away from things. 1 point in power early is good, especially if they have roamers. What you end up doing as the offlaner is you just soak XP, and then once the opposing roamers leave your lane to go bother the mid, you can now 1v1 the carry or 1v2 their carry and the support and just get some CS, because you generally will not have the mana to spam Shockwave for CS in any sustainable way, I should say.
Right.
If you need to jungle, also you'll get a point in power faster, and he's a pretty good jungler. I've actually seen jungle Magnus solo, like just jungle from the beginning, and
if the
obviously
offense
it's
looks hard,
bad, but it's not as
Talon or
bad as a
something.
lot of things.
Do you start Iron Talon or
Yeah, you start Iron Talon, and you just abuse like basically the fact that you cleave and you Iron Talon. Sure. It's all right as far as junglers go. There are worse things. But the mid lane is different in that in the mid lane you get more points in Empower early. Some people still max the Shockwave by 7, and they just have 1 point in I keep wanting to say Ensnare, but it's Skewer. I personally tend to go with a 2 points in power, 1 point Skewer, 2 points Shockwave by 5. And especially if it's a melee matchup, you want to abuse the fact that A, you have more of a damage advantage, and B, if you are in a melee matchup, you'll be cleaving onto the enemy laner, which is an annoyance more than anything, but, a few damage here and there can actually make the difference in a kill situation. The big thing I would say looking forward to Magnus advice, and the thing that I always say is the big difference between really good Magnus players and bad Magnus players and even mediocre Magnus players, is the usage of Skewer in matchups without using RP. So pretty much anybody with half a brain can blink RP Skewer, or just blink Skewer for that matter. But the real winning play in a lot of matchups, especially if you're playing mid and you're getting ganked or you're just fighting the enemy mid laner, is being able to skewer that person back into your tower. And that's something that I see constantly people are not aware of or not planning for. And that's really the thing that differentiates skilled Magnus players from bad ones, is being aware of that capability and then executing it properly. So that's something that if I...
is like the no scope 360 RP that turns them around.
Yeah. I mean, that helps, of course, but
I fuck that up
and that's
so
what
much.
makes it easy.
I never do it. Like I just suck at it.
I'm honestly not good at it either, because
I know that.
Well, so the thing about like Magnus is I have always played a good deal of Magnus, but I've never played him in any significant like spamming level.
Yeah.
Like he's always been a hero that I enjoy and is one of my go-to offlaners, but A, I don't offlane often, and B, I just don't pick him constantly, if that makes sense. But doing the 360 spin thing is something that I can do it if I'm really focusing, but I cannot do it Yeah, on like a on-demand
For
basis, I
context,
guess.
it's actually, I mean, it's a 180 thing, or I mean, however much it needs to be. You can
Yeah,
spin
it's
while
a
you're
180.
RPing, like you can move during the animation of it. Like if you, so the way you do it is you blink and then you right click, you blink and then you press R, like you RP, and then you right click wherever you want to. Oh no, do you have to do it in any specific order? Is it like
No,
blink,
you can do it
click,
either
and then
way.
RP? Either way, okay. So you can turn while the animation for RP is going. And so yeah, so the way you do is you go blink and you click whichever direction you want to be facing, and then your RP will end and they will be in front of you. And just the way that like turn speed works, so that means that you basically will take like a fraction of a second to turn the direction that you just clicked, and it'll be a fraction of a second for RP to go from the time you hit the button to when it finishes casting. So that's why you can get people who are like, they blink forward, but then the RP finishes and Magnus is facing backwards towards his tower, and then he skewers that way. So like that's the like the tight mechanics that you want to pull off with Magnus that make him a relatively mechanically difficult hero. But if you don't play the hero enough or you haven't practiced that mechanic, you end up being me or Ursi, and you get into the game, you're like, oh yeah, I should try to like spin RP, and then you forget to do it in the heat of the moment.
Yeah. Or you do it and you mess up, but it is one of those very minute things that is a big skill differentiator.
And it's a
Other than
huge
that,
difference. Like it takes like 2 seconds
yeah.
to walk around an RP and skewer back if you don't do that.
Yeah, especially if like there are creeps involved or if there's a
Yeah.
lot of heroes and then you get creep blocked, yeah. That's about that, honestly. The itemization for both builds is pretty situational. The utility mag is more consistent, where it's just mana boots, blink, force staff, or shadow blade. But the itemization for the mid, more core oriented Magnus is much more variable in the late game, in the sense that sometimes you'll see him go double back and then end up going in for the refresher. But in general, you see more often a like a Daedalus, Bloodthorn if you need it instead of Daedalus, stuff like that.
Soak your ass,
AC
that kind of
even,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's pretty variable if you need different things. BKB in both builds can be necessary in a lot of games. I think my last Magnus game I played, I was against a Silencer, so I needed to just go like blink BKB.
All right.
I'm looking forward
Yeah.
to the game, honestly.
Great. Magnus has been out for a long time. I think we got it, Bucko.
Yes. Let's
Sorry,
talk about
we're,
Monkey
we're
King.
going long, and you're a tired boy, I'm sure. All right. So Monkey
Yeah.
King, we've covered this hero already. As far as some like relatively basic attributes about him, he's since been nerfed, of course, and his role has changed from when he initially came out, and everyone was like, "Oh, I want to play him as a core," and now he's better as a support, and it sucks, and I hate it, and it's dumb. But that's the world we live in now, and so if someone's gonna play Monkey King on this podcast, probably gonna be me. So there's kind of two ways to play him right now. The most influential Monkey King scholar is Boboka on IG. I think just regular IG, not IG Vitality. Yeah, just regular IG. Burning's team, as it is better known as, and he's really, really, really good at it. And there's two starting builds you can do. There's the level 1 Jingu Mastery, where you start out with Poor Man's Shield Tango, and that's what is known as the zoning Monkey King, where the first thing that you do is you go to safe lane and you have a Poor Man's Shield plus Jingu Mastery, and you're a 300 range melee hero, and you just punch their offlaner until they have to leave, because Jingu Mastery makes you really good at trading. And then
Yeah.
there's the other Monkey King, which is the roaming ganking Monkey King, and this is just being defined by what you do for your opening map movement. If your opening map movement is going to be zoning the offlaner, you go Poor Man's Shield first and get Jingu Mastery and punch a bunch of nerds. And then as soon as you can, once you get your level 2, you'll get Tree Dance and start doing the roaming Monkey King. And then the straight roaming from second 1, basically, is going to be the Tree Dance first Monkey King that gets Tree Dance, then 2 points in Boundless Strike, and then gets Jingu Mastery at 4, and then finishes maxing out the Boundless and the Tree Dance. And you're going to, of course, start out with a bunch of regen and the Orb of Venom, just so that your rotations turn into kills. So the difference is the zoning Monkey King is going to expect to be reacted to and punched back. So you will have enough time to get the Jingu Mastery up to 4 hits and, be able to threaten with the Poor Man's Shield so that you don't die. And then the roaming Monkey King is obviously, with a roamer, you want to roam into a winning situation. You don't want to jump down into being punched in the dick. That's not a strategy that anyone has ever done in their life.
Yeah.
At least not on purpose. So you want you don't really care about your defensiveness. You don't need the stout shield item. The Poor Man's Shield upgrade, all you want is just the Orb of Venom to make it harder for them to get out of this advantageous position that you just leapt yourself into. And that's kind of it at a basic level. As far as the transition that you do go for, I think the best thing that at least the relatively new addition that people are doing is instead of going Echo Saber into Basher, which actually just takes forever to pull off, people are just going straight Basher. So it's like stick, boots, or boots then stick, however you want to do it, and then boots into wand, into phase boots. I personally like tranquils a lot, but that's just because I like to be able to have like my health regen going. I don't really play any heroes without some mechanic of health regen, and I end up farming a lot on my Monkeyking. So being able to like kill a camp and then heal up afterwards is nice. But I mean, phase boots are obviously good if you're doing well and you don't need the health regen. Let's say you have a hero like Dazzle on your team, is a great hero to add to a Monkeyking team. Then those phase boots early are great. But if you are having some issues playing Monkeyking your pubs, maybe go for the tranquils over phase, cheaper, all that business. And then you transition immediately into the Basher, and that just makes it so your ultimate is just like a constantly reoccurring Ravage, and that's obviously absurdly good. It's dumb, and it's ridiculously strong, and it's stupid.
Yeah, man, Monkeyking, as much as he's maybe get hit with the Nerf bat, it's funny because it's kind of like Earth Spirit in my mind, where everybody's like, he gets repeatedly nerfed, right? And then he gets put in captain modes, and we're like, he's got nerfed again, he's not gonna be good. And then he's still good, and he remains to be good. And then
the aspect that we don't like about him has never been changed. Like the tree thing, I'm not a big fan of personally. Like I love Monkeyking on the ground punching people. Like with my attack speed build that I did for Theorycraft, like that was super fun. But anytime I ultied, I was like, this is a little much. And then anytime you like escape from a gank by jumping into a tree in the middle of being stunned, you're like, I'm not sure about that. But like the baseline of the hero is super fun and great. When the Jingu was like a little too strong and you were healing through armor for no reason, that was dumb. But like the ultimate with the Basher, I don't know about that
it's
one.
Stupid.
It's pretty dumb.
That is really honestly the only word to use for it. Like we don't even need to talk about it like at length. It's just stupid. It's just unfair.
You have a button that has 13 heroes all bashing other people. It works out pretty well. Just get that first. Yeah. That's not a crazy thing to go for. And if you have the option, have an AoE bash. Like it's good stuff.
Compared to something like Ravage, it is such an advantage to have and this isn't always an advantage, of course, but it's a big advantage to have staggered bashes in that it is not just like, oh boy, I got bashed. It's like, no, well, I may get bashed now, I may get bashed again. There's so many variables to it, and so much of an unknown RNG factor, obviously, that is really jarring. And it's like a team fight,
and you're fighting, you're like, can I push this far? Like, you can't just like BKB, you can't BKB it either. It just goes straight through spell immunity. And like, you're in the middle of team fight, you're like, okay, now this person's going to chain their stun. Oh wait, no, they got stunned randomly, so they didn't chain theirs. It's so much disruption. It's some tilting stuff.
Yeah, and nice synergy with Magnus. Mag RP into a Monkeyking ult. You could even ult first, and if you have that much confidence in my RPs, I doubt it, honestly.
Yeah, or that I can do my line stun into your thing that builds them up. Yeah, and after the Basher, you can either get Echo Saber, which is pretty solid. It does add that little slow. If you don't get the bash, you will get the little
and more bashes chances.
Yeah, and like double the bash chance, and or if you don't go for that, you go Deso or Shadowblade also, because you can Shadowblade in the middle of your ultimate and it'll still be up while you're invisible, which is a fantastic synergy. Or be in Shadowblade and set it up from there. There's a lot you can do with the Monkey Boy, but the main thing that you are maxing on Monkeyking is the Boundless Strike. Getting it up to that 2-second duration is a big deal. I would say for a lot of like it makes sense that Monkeykings weren't maxing their stun originally. Like when you're playing a core Monkeyking or in certain team compositions, there may seem to be more value to going for other things. But the idea is, as we were talking about earlier, where Monkeyking fits in your team, providing that skirmishy AoE disable that isn't like a super long cooldown. If that's your only one, like if you have like Bat Rider as your off lane and Dazzle as your support, your other support rather, the only stun that you're going to have to catch someone out from long range is going to be the 2-second Monkeyking stun. So you will rush that as fast as possible, even if it doesn't look like the best thing for you personally, it's to fill that hole in your team rather than just to work off what you personally would enjoy.
All right. Okay. Well, on that note, we're gonna hop in. Yeah, we're gonna play the game, and then you can watch the VODs on youtube.com/.btv1, and then we'll be back after the break, and then we'll talk about things, and it'll be fun.
Or not. Maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you just want to listen, which is okay.
Maybe we'll never be back.
We're actually never gonna play this game.
Okay, hello everyone. We have just completed our game. We're done, completed, finito, etc. Yeah. It's a fun game. It was a bizarre game. I'll say that much.
A little weird. Read the teams full.
Yes, read the teams. So the enemy team had a offlane Axe, a middle Shadow Fiend, a safe lane, duo lane that was Slark Treant, and they had a Zeus that I think ended up being offlane, right?
They had a dual offlane of Axe Zeus. Like they started the Zeus, and then after I killed the Axe, he moved to offlane. Yeah.
And our team, of course, had an offlane Magnus, played by me, a roaming Monkeyking, played by Proud, of course, a AA that was started in the offlane with me for some bizarre reason, and then ended up being a safe lane support, and we use the term support very loosely. We had a mid Ember Spirit and a safe lane AM. And this was party queue, just for the fun, just so everybody knows. So we got to play with a variety of skilled players. I think that's what we'll say, Proud.
Right? Yeah, it was an interesting mix.
So for context, I always feel bad because we brought this up during the recording, and party queue is a mixed bag, right? Everybody kind of knows that, and our team, of course, had us. We're both 5K, and we had our mid Ember was 5K. Our AM, I don't know his MMR, but he was good, so he's probably around that high 4s, low 5s area. But then the AA was 3,300 MMR, and he was, I mean, not only was he just like not a smart person and not a nice person either, but he was clearly playing well out of his depth. And that was a big detriment to our team. Also, the fact that he was just an idiot, and that didn't help. Like, the guy saying, no, I'm just, like, we were like, yo, buy wards, and he's just like, nope, Midas. Dude, come on. You pick the 5. Play the 5. Get your Midas later.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's our preamble where we get to complain about our one person. Other than that, though, yeah, he got his Midas at 31 minutes, for context.
Yeah, it was a long time to not be buying wards. He eventually started buying them, but it was... It's like, hey, we got 4 in stock, buddy. And I've bought 3 of them.
Yeah. Anyway. And we had a magic damage Ember, by the way, just so you know. Because we're not going to talk at length about him, but he was a magic Ember, not a physical Ember. So, let's talk about the game. I mean, we ended up winning. And it was very back and forth. Their SF snowballed like crazy. He was really dominant early. And then they tried the high ground, and we got a few RPs, and we took a few fights, and we won. Basically.
It was really just the 1 RP turned the whole game. That was pretty perfect.
Yeah, I mean, there was one that like took our disadvantage and made it an advantage, and then there was
not an advantage, but it brought us from the brink of defeat to a fighting chance, and then we just didn't really make mistakes from there.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm glad this was a recorded game. I've had some Magnus games that were real stinkers and didn't go great. This was not one of them.
Yeah, so you had a real shit laning phase, but the RPs at the end came through super nicely.
It's I also, my laning phase was not great. It started off good, and then I had one death that was just...
It was like... The time up until Blink Dagger was real rough.
Yeah, it was bad. Like, there's really no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I had one death that was just, I was trying to skewer away, but you can't skewer out of pounce. And I died to that. Then I had one death where I was gonna skewer away, but then I got my stats stolen, and I didn't have enough mana at the last second. And then I had another death where I got Slark down to like 15 health-ish or so, and I was about to kill him, and then he killed me.
Was that the one where my Orb of Venom got the kill at the end?
No, that was after. That was the 4th death I had. So I ended up... You were 4-0-4.
Yeah, you were 1-10.
Huh?
Yeah. I said this game you ended 1-10. You actually had the most deaths. Jesus.
Yeah. It was bad.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, my game was great. We started out by smoking bottom, and I just like leapt around the trees under smoke, and then we eventually found a kill, and I just leapt down on it once you guys got close. So like being able to scout around on like up on the trees with smoke was super cool. And then from there, I rotated to try to get a kill mid. The kill mid didn't really happen because our Ember Spirit just got outplayed horribly and had to play back the whole time. Then I ran top, and our AM was basically solo because we got a first blood bottom, and Ancient Apparition took that to mean like, well, I can't go top. That's too far. I'll just turn this into a dual offlane and leave my anti-mage solo against this axe, which normally not the best thing to do. Normally you don't want to leave an anti-mage against an axe solo when you have an Ancient Apparition who could be
for sure.
But anyway, so I eventually went top and helped. No. So I did that, and then I left. So we did the first blood, and then I like left on the trees near mid, and I was like, okay, this guy's courier isn't coming. He probably figures that I'm gonna try to gank it. And then I noticed like a creep, or like I gained a bit of experience, so then I leap over and I'm like, oh shit, there's an axe jungling here. So I just kind of waited till he did 2 camps. And then once I thought the second camp was about to be done, I like leapt down and got the CS from it and killed him at the same time. And then he started dual laning top, and then I rotated top afterwards. And it was a really, really nice start. So I got like level 2 off that. And yeah, and then I just kept going along to lanes killing. It was to the point where the score is 9-8, and I was 100% kill participation. I was like, all right, I have 4 kills, 4 assists. Like, I am the person in this game right now, and it was good. Yeah. I feel like I got really lucky that I killed their jungler and got like a big creep, and I think he got the small one. But I mean, that was just fortunate. It wasn't like I can't replicate that every game. But
yeah, well, you're in the right place at the right time, and there's an element of skill, of course, to putting yourself in the right place.
Yeah. So it was pretty good, and I just kind of took that into getting my whatever items. It was pretty I skilled wrong, but it didn't really matter too much. Pretty much all of Monkeyking's skills are good. But I did have a second point in my Jingu that I wanted to be another point in my Q, because I was like 2-1-2 at 5 instead of 3-1-1. But whatever, it all evened out eventually once I got enough levels in me, and yeah, it was just good. And I eventually got my Basher, and as soon as I did, they did like this Aegis push, and I just ultied on top their Aegis, and like we killed the Shadow Fiend, then he rezzed, and my ulti was still there, and then we killed him again, and it was like this zone of Bashers that they couldn't walk into. So like they wanted to save their dude with Aegis, but they're like, I ain't walking into the Basher forest. Like that sounds like a terrible idea. Yeah. It's like the fucking Whomping Willow from Harry Potter, only every tree is
Except there's 13 of them.
Yeah, just there's 13 willows whomping. That's not a life you want to live. You don't even want to go to the Forbidden Forest by itself.
Yeah.
Add 12 more Whompers? No.
Yeah, so if I was to generalize this game, I would say from like a learning perspective, it is definitely a testament to the abilities and the merits of both Magnus and Monkeyking, in that Monkeyking, you really dictated the early game despite how things didn't go great, and then you scaled well into the mid and late game as kind of a utility side piece to our physical damage core and our magic damage core.
Don't call me your side piece, dude. That's so disrespectful.
You were my side piece. You were just a side piece.
Okay.
And Magnus as a Magnus game was a testament to the fact that like you can feed a bunch in the early game and not do great, but as long as you get godly RPs.
As long as you got RP. Yeah, there was one fight where you just got like Slark and Shadow Fiend right on the edge. And then, like, at the end of your RP duration, I put, like, my Q on top of it, and it was just, like 6 seconds of disable, basically. And then, like, my ulti was under it, too. And it was just like that. In that whole time, we had Empower Anti-Mage hitting them with Battle Fury. And it was like, well, they're going to die.
Well, I will say, as much as I was very proud of that RP, because it was, like, perfectly distanced, the most proud I was at the end of the game, once I had my refresher, we were fighting top. I started the fight with an RP on 3, and then we fought. We kind of like were both going our separate ways. Then SF came in, SF being the big target. He had 27k net worth, and he comes in. He's trying to kill one of our guys. I leave the fight. I, of course, have all my abilities and my Blink Dagger and my Force Up on cooldown. I refresher so that I have my Blink Dagger back off. I waited for all of the AoE stuff to go around me.
Wait, didn't you blink and then refresher and then blink? Like you said, look, you like that refresher blink, or did you just like...
Yeah, no, I blinked in for the RP, and my first RP. Then I skewered them back to the position. I had AM who was empowered. He killed 3. Yeah. Then I started running away after SF came, and I refreshed my blink and blinked in. And
Okay,
got
so this
back
was
on.
like a 7 second, not like a 30-second distance between these two actions.
Yeah, it was like a
Blink was
really quick
still-
succession.
Okay.
No, no,
All right.
I see what you're thinking. No, it
Okay, so
wasn't one.
here's what I thought. I thought this was this cool thing where you like blink refreshed or whatever, and then you like walked away really far, and then they re-engaged, so that and your blink was all cool, and then you like blinked, and then instead of like waiting till you got in RP, or and then you blinked and then refreshed instead of just like, oh, there's another fight, use my refresher and then try to get there. So you would like
Yeah.
blink refresher blink RP, but no, it was
No,
like
that would have been sick too. But
okay.
I
It
was just
like
very
a
happy.
7 second distance between, not like 20.
Yeah, it wasn't one of those things where you blink refresher to get the second blink, then blink and then RP. No, it was a leave the fight after having one good RP and then dodge the SF ult and then blink back in and then get another RP and then win the game off that.
Man, I can't believe that ancient apparition like died at the end of one of our good team fights just from like, I'm gonna walk into the Shadow Fiend dying, and he's just like for no fucking reason. It's just like melted.
He had a alarming amount of deaths that were just nonsense. Like
There was the one that was like so they took like our tier 3 and our ranged racks mid, and they were just like sieging our base, and they walked away for like 2 seconds, but we're still like in the area, and he just like walks to low ground and just has a sentry in his hand, and he's just like and just like fucking drops it on the ground, and then like 3 people come out of stealth and kill him, and he's just like, what did you expect was gonna happen? Like, what? You just what? Like, what?
yeah,
That's the only time I've seen you question mark anyone. You're just like, what the fuck was, like, he just walked to low ground. It's like, I'm gonna, you know what? This sentry ward, I couldn't place the sentry ward on the top of our stairs. I couldn't even roll it down the stairs. No, he has to walk there and be like, meh, and then just fucking fall over for
it
no
was
goddamn
one of those
reason.
plays that makes you think. I can't tell if he was intentionally feeding or not. And oh god, yeah. It's one of those things where I don't care what MMR you are. You could be 0 MMR or you could be 8,000 MMR. Everybody can distinguish this AA as just being terrible. And
I feel like there's just like some epiphany on Dota when you're just like, wait a sec, walking to the low ground is not worth it ever. And like as soon as you have that epiphany, like you jump 1,000 MMR. Like
Yeah.
as soon as you, because like I mean, this is the thing that Grouty does. Like sometimes he's just hanging out the bottom of the stairs instead of the top, and you're like, why are you there? And he's like, well, I don't think I'll die. And I was like, I didn't ask him why if you think you'll die or not. I'm like, why are you there instead of the high ground? It's like, really
like
no
the creeps are
reason
gonna
at
come
all.
to you regardless, right? Like they're gonna walk up
like-
the stairs.
There's no discernible advantage between being on the low ground or the high ground if nothing is happening. Like there's no advantage. It's just like if you have a choice between being on the low ground or the high ground, and by the way, you always have a choice. We are beings of free will.
Unless
and
it's fissured.
Yeah, unless it's fissured, then you need a force staff. But outside of the fissure situation, the classic fissure paradox of free will, you always have a choice to be on high ground. And the answer is always to be on high ground. You can exercise the absurdity. Like if you want to try to prove free will by being absurd, then you can stay on low ground and feed. But that's not like an interesting argument. So we'll just...
Well, it's all Dota determinism anyway. Someone
Yeah,
who is on low
Dota
ground.
determinism anime, I think is what you just said, which I do like that phrase.
Anyway, sorry, that would be an anime to watch though. No, I mean it's all Dota,
Dota
determinism.
determinism. That sounds like a phrase that would be like an anime.
Yeah,
With
in
like
the
2
sense that
exclamation points at the end, or 3.
someone who is pulling a Grouty and is on low ground for no discernible reason is predisposed to make that decision due to their previous experiences on the low ground as a Dota player. So really, they didn't have free will at all in any part of this situation. They're just doomed to be on the low ground as an inferior
Dota determinism
low-grounder.
Guitari. I'd watch that show.
Yeah. Okay. It would be a Monogatari, right? Because Monogatari means story. So it has to be Dota determinism Monogatari, I think. No, I could be wrong. I don't remember. Anyway, could just be Guitari. Who knows?
I mean, there's Katana Guitari, right?
I know. That's why I was just thinking. That's the exact.
There's just like a lot of things that if you could add Guitari to the end of a lot of
Isn't
things.
Bake Monogatari, Kaze Monogatari? No.
Yeah, there's
Kaze.
a lot of
Kaze means
those.
wind. I don't know. I don't watch anime anymore. I'm reformed. Okay.
Right.
Let's move on. don't write me. Okay. All right. What else can we talk about this game? I'll say just in quick. My item build ended up being magic wand, brown boots, quelling blade, I started PMS, so PMS Tango. Then I built Brown Boots. Then I had a Magic Wand. Then I built Mana Boots. Then I went in for Blink Dagger, Force Staff, and Refresher Orb. My next 2 slots were probably going to end up being Octarine Core as my 5th slot, and my 6th slot, I'm honestly not sure. It might have been a Shiva's. I probably would have liked Shiva's.
Yeah. Even just for the mana pool of that, I think that would have been fine. Tell me about when I flamed you for like continuing to go bottom and farm. Did you feel like you were actually helping when you stopped just like dying bottom and farming and like coming even though you didn't have Blink Dagger? Like, do you feel like that was good, or should you just kept dying bottom for no reason?
Well, I was dying bottom because I was playing poorly, not because of the situation itself. It was one of those situations where I had the toolkit and I had the abilities to not die, but I just made misplays. It was not one of those things where I was most certainly, definitely, absolutely going to die. So that was kind of my mindset, where I just had like 2 dumb deaths in a row. But the thing about it was that once I left farming bottom and ended up going to try to aid anybody, I basically was just walk around empowering people because nothing was happening. Yeah. Because the enemy team just, like, they were already at a lead, so they were just farming out their lead for a while and getting new items. So I ended up just like sitting around doing nothing because there's no jungle to take because we have 2
there's
cores,
no jungle
3 cores. So I literally was just sitting around doing nothing. And so that felt very counterproductive.
Plus that you didn't keep dying. Yeah, I feel like a lot of it was I just wanted you to have like a TP, because there was a team fight that if you did TP to, we would have like ultra killed them. Like all of them were down to like 100 health, and just we didn't finish them off. And then like you died bottom to Slark, and I was like, well, that was unnecessary.
Yeah, I probably did have a TP, but the tier 1 was gone already, so I would have had to like TP and then a run for
to the shrine that we were killing them under.
Was it at Shrine? I'm thinking of a different fight.
It was 100 units north of Shrine is where I died.
Okay, I'm thinking of a different fight then, when you guys were fighting closer to like Bounty Rune and Top Dire.
Yeah, that was like a long protracted fight that started between the shrine and the tier 2 tower.
Anyway, yeah, I mean you're probably right, but it was just I think farming bottom was fine, and I think I could have played it better. I just did not play it well enough.
I feel like if we just play, because like you had RP up, so what we should have done is just like smoked or scouted for a kill, because like we knew they were in that area, and if we were all up and like just walked with like RP and just used it even for 1 kill, I think that would have been good.
Yeah, I also had to waste my first RP to not die. Actually, I would have gotten kills with it, but I was a little bit mana short, unfortunately. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, the first 15 minutes were not great, but our first 12 minutes, and then I got Blink Dagger.
Everything else was beautiful.
Actually, no, the first 20 minutes were not great, and then I had Blink Dagger.
Yeah, and I was gonna go Yules after. I was split between going Shadowblade or Yules, but I kept being like, do they have a gem yet? They're gonna have a gem soon. This gem's gonna kill me. And they had Zeus too, so like Shadowblade probably wouldn't have been that great. But the idea with Monkeyking Yules is that way, because I mean, what kept happening was I would Monkeyking ulti in the middle of at like the beginning of a fight, and then Shadow Fiend would like just like right click me and kill me immediately, or Sam would decide that he doesn't need to RP and Shadow Fiend would just BKB out of skewer and kill me for no reason. Really any combination of things, I would just dive immediately. And so I was like, you know what, how I won't die if I'm in the sky. So I was gonna get a Yules next, but the game ended before that happened. So that was cool.
It was also, I would say, when a lot of people frequently ask us about late game decision making, because it's such a nebulous idea and it's so impulse based, and in like what's the right call, what's the wrong call, and it's so hyper specialized to each individual game. This was a good example of a game where Proud, you want to just take Raxes, but what we ended up doing was just going in and taking their tier 4s and taking their base, because the Shadow Fiend had bought back for a previous push, and the Axe had also bought back. And so it's one of those situations where if we had waited, it would have just been like, we would have gotten a good advantage on those 2 tier 1s, but we could have like lost. Whereas we cinched the game with that final push because we just had barely enough time. Actually, we probably had like a 15-second buffer. Yeah,
we had plenty of time. I guess I just didn't know that they didn't have their buybacks or whatever, because that was definitely the right play. But
yeah, it was close.
It could have. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, like I personally, as a shot caller, there's 100% of the time I would have made the call to take the to take 2 lanes of Rax instead of doing that.
That's what I would have done too, honestly, because you know me, I'm the safe player.
Yeah, I mean, me too. Like the last thing that I ever want to do is throw the game on high ground. Like if we can get 2 lanes of Rax there and the game's going as good as it is, I think we still win like 98% of the time. Not that high. Obviously, Dota is such a high variance game that saying something like that. But I don't know. It's like there's a decent chance that I don't know. There's a Treant ulti, and then someone tries to dive for the Slark, and then the Slark gets away, and then that's like 30 seconds wasted or so, or not 30, like 20, maybe 15 seconds or something like that. And then so on and so forth keeps coming, and eventually Axe respawns, and he blink blade mails, and then we all die and we lose the game or something like that. But we all had buyback or whatever. It was worth even just like me killing the one racks, because it's not like I provide that much, and just like making sure that the creeps are going to kill the barracks, and then I went to help. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely like that was the correct call, and they were correct, and I would have been wrong. So, the more I'm in these situations, the more I'm like updating my heuristics on when to take tier fours in an ancient than rather than just Rex.
Yeah, it's always a really hard call either way, and it is hyper game specific. That's why I say this game was a good example of when you make the call to just take tier fours versus when you make the call to just take Raxes. And a lot of that is just on the information you've gained from previous buybacks. So
hell yeah, dog.
That's about that. I mean, that's all I really have to say for this game. Like, it was just a really fun, good Magnus game. And
yeah, okay.
I will say, as just a quick aside of Magnus advice, I say this all the time, but whenever you start a draft or whenever you finish draft and you're playing any of these high priority target or high priority ability heroes like Magnus, for instance, or Doom, you always want to make a checklist in your mind and say, okay, who's my number one priority to get RP on? Who's my number two? Who's my number three? What combination of like 3, 4, and 5, yada, 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 can I get that makes it worth it to use my ability? So in this game, it was worth it for me to solo RP a Shadow Fiend because he was so far ahead. Whereas in another game, it would be a complete waste to solo RP a Shadow Fiend because he's behind or because they have other cores that are more important, etc. So from the Magnus perspective, or even like if you're playing Doom, for instance, Doom is probably one of the more classic examples. You just want to make that checklist and say, okay, my Doom targets should be in this order. Number 1, I'd like to target this person. Number 2, this person. Number 3, this person. So a lot of the mental math and strategy that goes into playing a hero like Magnus or Tidehunter or any of these, or like Enigma, is just going through that checklist and saying, okay, these 3 people are sieging my high ground. I can get these 2, or I can get these 2, which would be better, which would be worse, etc., etc. So
yeah, and the answer is always their mid hero would be better. Get their mid.
Almost always, yeah. But occasionally it's like, oh, well...
Literally every time. Okay?
Okay, well, yeah, I mean...
Okay?
Okay. Well,
all right, let's just... Okay?
Yeah, or... Yeah, okay. I'm not even going to, like, try to make a joke out of it. It's just,
no, let's just
sometimes
not.
You're right. Most of the time you're right.
Okay, yeah.
Not always.
Could you...
Okay, Proud, do you have anything to wrap it up with before I hop into our plugs?
Now? I feel like... No,
okay.
Just plug it. Just plug it.
I'm going to plug it. It's late. Okay.
Can you plug it, please?
Have plugs. You can watch the game that we played rather, but you can watch my perspective because Proud did not record it.
I didn't record it. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't record it. I wanted to. It would have been great, but I didn't. Okay.
Yeah. So you can watch that on youtube.com/.btv1. You can watch us stream twitch.tv/.btv. You can go to our website defenseofthepatients@gmail.com. You can, excuse me, that's not our website. Our website is defenseofthepatients.com.
It is most certainly not.
Our email is defenseofthepatients@gmail.com, or you can send us questions for the Tuesday Q&A. Next week is going to be the Tuesday Q&A with Proud, because next week is our Patreon $1,000 goal exclusive Switcheroo.
It was Walking Dead this week, right? I don't think I watched it.
There was, yeah, it was the second to last episode. The finale is this weekend. It's 90 minutes.
Was it dumb?
There were dumb things to it.
Well, obviously.
Yeah. Walking Dead's a fun show, but man, that show's just a mess. I recently caught completely up on the comic too, and like there's just so many things that are so vastly inferior about the show that like are not inferior for any good reason. It's just an arbitrary reason. Like the writers just decided, no, let's not do the fun thing. Let's replace it with something dumb like garbage people in the 1-1.
Yeah,
okay.
I can't believe the garbage people, man.
Okay. What else? Twitter, I'm at Ursinity. Proud is at Proud Dota. Our show's at @show. Patreon, patreon.com/patients. You can support us. You can get replay reviews. You can get all kinds of things there. It's fun. iTunes reviews help us as well, and we have a subreddit r/patients. So
yeah, if you have a Twitter, please follow me. It helps my self-confidence.
Me too. I sit on Twitter all day long, man. It's the best. It's also probably the best way to get at me if you have a question.
I'm actually like really into Twitter, honestly. Twitter is great.
It's such a good medium.
It's the best. I want to say it's like the best social like network thing that we have. Like social media or whatever, I think Twitter is the best one.
Yes, I agree. Think I like my content to be easily read and consumed in the course of like 30, not 30 seconds, like 30 milliseconds of reading. Also, there's tons of great K-pop on Twitter. Anyway, let's end the show. Good night, everybody. Goodbye. This has been our theory, but if you lose, well, you know, whatever. It's probably your AA's fault. Or you missed our P's. I'm sorry.